In Jerusalem today, a truck driver plowed into a crowd of Israeli troops, killing 4 and wounding more than a dozen others. We caution you, the video is graphic.
Closed-circuit television video showed what appeared to be the truck driver's objective: to inflict maximum damage. He plowed head-on into a group of pedestrians, many of them soldiers, and then put his truck into reverse to drive over them again. The driver, according to police, a 28-year-old Palestinian father of 4 from an East Jerusalem neighborhood mere kilometers away. Authorities say the driver was shot and killed at the scene. As Israel's intelligence agency investigates the driver's background and motives, the government's Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee convened a special session Sunday night to decide on a response. Plowing trucks through crowded pedestrian areas maximizes casualty numbers. The assailants behind France's Bastille Day and Germany's Christmas market attacks knew that. Israel's prime minister says there's a link between those attacks and the assault in Jerusalem.
We are here after a brutal and tragic terror attack where 4 soldiers were murdered, 3 female soldiers and a male soldier. We know the identity of the attacker. According to all the signs, he was a supporter of the Islamic State.
This is the deadliest assault in Israel in months. A wave of lone wolf Palestinian on Israeli attacks that started in September 2015 had recently tapered off. No group has claimed responsibility for Sunday's assault. A spokesperson for the militant Hamas group praised the truck driver as a hero of the ongoing Palestinian uprising against Israeli occupation.
Even though he only has just days to go before leaving office, outgoing U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is feeling the need to involve himself in policy decisions of the next administration. The outgoing diplomat is warning that President-elect Donald Trump's promise to move the American embassy to Jerusalem is capable of detonating an absolute explosion he says could rock the entire region.
According to Kerry, the relocation is likely to have a detrimental effect in the West Bank, Israel itself, and also the Jewish state's peace partners, Jordan and Egypt. During an interview with CBS News, Kerry also insisted any alternative to the two-state solution would pose an extraordinarily dangerous threat to Israeli democracy. Trump's promise to move the U.S. embassy to the Israeli capital has also sparked massive condemnations from Arab leaders. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas cautioned Trump against the move, and one of his closest aides says the act is a declaration of war. Sermons from Islamic clerics being repeatedly shown on official Palestinian TV call on Muslims to wake up to the danger in this assault on the Islamic faith, its holy places, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. The Palestinians believe an American decision to move the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv signals official recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital on land they claim for their future state.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has once again indicated that his administration favors closer ties with Russia. In a series of tweets, he said those who disapproved of closer ties with Moscow are, quote, only stupid people or fools. He also said Russians will respect the U.S. more now under his administration than they currently do under Barack Obama's.
We've seen a lot of commentary lately where there were Republicans or pundits or cable commentators who seem to have more confidence in Vladimir Putin than fellow Americans because those fellow Americans are Democrats. That cannot be.
Does that include the president-elect?
Well, what I will say is that, and I said this right after the election, we have to remind ourselves we're on the same team. Vladimir Putin's not on our team. If we get to a point where people in this country feel more affinity with a leader who is an adversary and views the United States and our way of life as a threat to him, then we're going to have bigger problems than just cyber hacking.
U.S. Secretary of Defense Ash Carter has given an interview to the American news network NBC on a number of issues affecting the world right now. Among them, Russia's alleged hacking of the Democratic Party and the fight against terrorism.
They haven't done anything against
and you mean anything?
ISIL.
Did you put it at zero?
Virtually zero. They came in, they said they were going to fight ISIL, and they said they were going to help end the civil war in Syria. They haven't done either of those things.
Why do you think he went to such extreme descriptions?
Well, precisely because we're in a campaign of demonizing Russia right now. Really, it's not about Russia so much as it's about Trump. I think the Democrats and many Republicans like McCain, who've been very badly hurt by Trump, are sticking it to him. And they're sticking it to him because he's denied the intelligence communities and he's been friendly with Russia. And this is a way to embarrass him.
Anti-NATO sentiments fill the air in northern Germany as residents voice objection to a transfer of forces by the military alliance through their country. The protesters have rallied in the port city of Bremerhaven, where scores of U.S. tanks and armored vehicles, along with some 3,500 Americans, docked on Friday. They are going to be transferred to Eastern Europe to bolster NATO positions near Russia. The demonstrators have called for an end to what they deem as NATO's militaristic march against Russia. They fear that the deployment could fuel tensions and eventually spark a war.
I'm here to explain peace to Russians because I'm afraid of new wars. As with the maneuvers of new wars begin, and this big maneuver is the one that quiet scares me, and I'm here to speak against this.
Defense Secretary Ash Carter says North Korea's nuclear weapons capabilities and ballistic missile defense programs constitute a serious threat to the United States. He said the U.S. is prepared to shoot down a North Korean missile launch or test if it were coming towards American or Allied territory. Carter said this after the secretive country accused the U.S. of having a hostile policy towards North Korea. The country has claimed it is ready to test launch an intercontinental ballistic missile at any time and at any location. Over the past year, North Korea has carried out missile launches and has tested 2 nuclear weapons, most recently in September 2016.
The leader of Iran's Islamic Revolution has once again demanded all Iranians be vigilant in the face of the U.S.'s enmity. Ayatollah Khamenei says the anti-Iran sanctions are aimed at pitting the nation against the Islamic establishment. The leader also cautioned that the enemies are bent on destroying the elements of national strength and sovereignty. He also warned of plots hatched by Britain to partition the countries in the Middle East and North Africa. Ayatollah Khamenei said Britain believes that the era of a united Iraq, Yemen, Syria, or Libya is over. The leader added that the UK does not mention Iran because it dreads public reaction in the Islamic Republic.
The United States announced it will send around 300 Marines back to Afghanistan. They will go to the opium-rich Helmand province to train local forces to fight the Taliban. The Marines should begin deploying this year and will remain in the province for 9 months. Helmand is the main source of Afghanistan's thriving opium trade, which is worth an estimated $4 billion a year. The Taliban controls 85% of the province, which means much of the opium profits fund its efforts. The U.S. and NATO formally ended their combat mission in Afghanistan at the end of 2014. However, thousands of troops remain in the country where they assist and train Afghan forces and carry out counterterrorism operations.
Iraq's special forces have reached the eastern bank of the Tigris River in Mosul for the first time since launching their offensive to dislodge Daesh terrorists last year.
The units of the Rapid Response Division arrived at the banks of the Tigris River, and our goal was accomplished. God willing, we will have other missions given by the Federal Police Command.
General Ismail, the commander of Iraq's Rapid Response Division, added 2 hospitals and a medical university in Mosul have now been liberated. New gains come as Iraqi forces enter the flashpoint city from the north for the first time on Friday. Baghdad recently resumed an offensive to liberate Mosul after a short lull. In October last year, Iraq launched a massive operation to dislodge the terrorists from Mosul. Troops have so far recaptured a number of areas on the eastern flanks of the city. Commanders say they now control around 70% of eastern Mosul.
Saudi Arabia's Interior Ministry says 2 suspects with links to bombings and other attacks in the country have been shot dead in a security operation in the capital, Riyadh. Officials say one of the 2 was considered an expert in making explosive belts. Security forces also found explosive weapons and chemicals from manufacturing bombs inside 2 suspects' home.
In this morning's rush hour because of a strike across the entire tube network.
A damp, miserable start for many commuters who are trying to make their way into central London today. We're here in Piccadilly Circus and you'll see the station behind me deserted at this point in the morning. Normally a busy, thriving heart of London's West End. And as you said, that walkout began last night. So let me run you through the details that we know so far. About 4,000 ticket office staff went on strike last night. That strike began at 6 o'clock. They're walking out, objecting to closures of ticket offices and the removal, they say, of frontline staff on the tube network. That means that in central London, most of the stations are closed. That includes vital transport hubs, places like Euston, Victoria, King's Cross, all of the train stations that you might pass through if you're coming into London from elsewhere in the country. But this is not just a story about London, and certainly not just central London. It's a story about the UK economy too, because some estimates suggest that this walkout could cost tens of millions of pounds. One estimate I've seen suggests up to £50 million the impact on the UK economy because of lost business and people not able to get to work.
Corporate media such as NBC, CBS, and ABC is focused on the fact that Puerto Rico is now experiencing a $70 billion debt crisis. What they spend far less time talking about is the fact that America's Wall Street was the major engine for that $70 billion economic burn down. And they failed to mention the way that affects U.S. taxpayers who are directly and indirectly responsible for having to pay for that cleanup. It's another Wall Street catastrophic disaster right upon us. It's not complicated. Securities firms like Santander, which is the 20th largest bank in the world, joined with Wall Street to knowingly and intentionally pull off a massive fraud by selling their worthless junk bond inventory on the open market to mom and pop investors all over the island. Santander absolutely knew that they were holding high-risk junk bonds that they needed to get rid of in order to maximize their personal profits and save the company from massive losses. That's what it was about. And what that company did down in Puerto Rico affects U.S. investors in a very real way, because all securities and bonds connected with Puerto Rico are going to be affected by all of the island's defaults. Already, the island's credit rating has been reduced to what they call junk on the open market. And what these bankers did was place Puerto Rico and their economy into one of the worst recessions in its history. In fact, as of today, the poverty rate as a result of unemployment, rising debt, has created a poverty economy that's actually double that of Mississippi. As Puerto Rico plummeted into this economic abyss, its issuance of municipal debt skyrocketed. Global banks such as Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, and Merrill Lynch all made enormous profits from the bank-driven economic disaster. The global bankers knew of the drastically increased risk coming at them the same way that they knew of the problems when they cost the U.S. economy trillions of dollars in 2008. Except in Puerto Rico, the banks took their exposure to almost zero before the disaster. Make no mistake, bank or business decisions like that take place on a routine basis here in the United States. But no one went to jail in 2008 here in the United States. No one was even seriously investigated for that fraud that took place in 2008. And because of that, global bankers moved on to pillage mom and pop investors in Puerto Rico.
Venezuela's embattled President Nicolas Maduro has announced a 50% increase in the minimum wage in a bid to combat runaway inflation. It's the 5th increase in the last year. Speaking on his monthly TV and radio program on Sunday, Maduro insisted the hike would protect jobs. Critics accuse him of mismanaging the economy. Maduro's move raises the monthly minimum wage to about 40,000 bolivars. That's around 57 euros at the highest official exchange rate, but in reality is worth about 10 euros on the black market.
Cao Cao Chu is one of the most famous dim sum restaurants here in Guangzhou. What sets it apart is it now accepts WeChat for everything on the menu. So dim sum with friends, traditional here in Guangzhou, but the method of payment is anything but. China has gone from a cash society to a cashless society very, very quickly. So our bellies are full, and hopefully our bank account is too, because just 2 taps on my phone, we hand it over, and that just took 3 seconds. We're fully paid up, all the payment information is here, and we're on our way. So next stop, gas. Okay, we're pulling into the gas station, and you'll see right here, there's a QR code right by the pump here. So we've got our scanner ready. We just hold it up to the QR code here. Now I just enter my pump number, enter how many yuan I want to spend. I need 100. Push yes, but look what comes up straight away. Do I want a bottle of water? Do I want something else? Yeah, I fancy a bottle of water. I'll just add one of those and then click on it and just pay. 2 bottles of water, full tank of gas, all on WeChat, and we're off. For many years, Western companies like Starbucks resisted the WeChat Pay model, but now even the coffee giant has come aboard. You just click and scan. WeChat and other applications also helping transform services. We're here in Guangzhou Hospital, where you can check in using these computers. No need to wait in long lines. Once you've checked in, you now scan the ubiquitous QR code that we've been using all the time here, and within just basically a second or two, you're in. You're into the hospital's records. You can make appointments. You can get your prescriptions. You can talk to your doctor. You can share medical information and your records. And it's not just hospitals like this as well. It's all sorts of local and other government services as well. You can pay your bills. You can even send mail from here and postcards. This sort of applications are transforming 21st century China. So you can use WeChat Pay in restaurants, you can now even use it in Starbucks. But what about markets like this? You'd normally have cash, right? Well, WeChat and others have thought of that as well. They put QR codes above the scales in your local market here. This is actually put in by a third-party vendor, a finance company. So you can buy your oranges and use your phone at the same time. 1, 2, how many do we want? 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go, we've got that. We just hand it to the lady who puts it on the scale, pops it on like that, while we get our QR code out. That says 2.94. Just scan it like that. 2.94. Accept the pay. WeChat Pay. And we're done. Quite amazing. It's amazing how small vendors like this can buy into the technological revolution that's going on in China at a very low price, and it means everyone doesn't have to carry cash around. You just carry your smartphone. Quite incredible.
So